can hit record.
That way I have it too. We'll go live here in just a second. I'm not going to read everything from your, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm not live streaming right now. This is life, baby. I don't know. I think I'm just still kind of like flummoxed at how I get rid of this. All right, really quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and do it. You ready?
Okay.
Here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. We are a couple of ladies here having a good time, and we're going to share it with you. If you caught it before I deleted it, we already went live once, but this is because I've not yet gone live on Zoom on Facebook. So there's a first time for everything, isn't there? Absolutely. I am so excited to have Dr. Terainer Brown here with me this afternoon. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
If you listen to the Intentional Optimist podcast, then you heard her already this week, and you have heard what a fabulous story she has. So today we're not going to get in so much to the actual story of her background, but Dr. Terainer Brown is a visionary, and she has done how many years of work in higher education and working with students, getting them into and through college. And she has a fabulous job right now, but she also has a fabulous organization that she has started. So we are here today to actually talk about Cultured for College. And we're just going to have a conversation, which I think is really cool. So welcome, Terainer. I'm excited you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrea. I appreciate so much the opportunity for us to reconnect and chat about Cultured for College.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great conversation. I know quite a few people were very interested in this conversation. When I start asking people, hey, do you have kids that you want to get in college? Do you have kids that are thinking about college? And as soon as they do, it's like, yep, we all do. We all have something, it's going to touch us somewhere.
That's right.
For any of us who consider ourselves intentional optimists, part of the purpose is being a role model for a future generation.
That's right.
So that's what you're all about. I'm going to hand it over to you and let you do a little talking, and then we'll have a conversation, right?
Sure. That sounds great. Well, hello, everyone. For those of you joining us, thank you so much. For those of you that will listen in later on, thank you for listening. Really excited to talk about Cultured for College. Cultured for College is all about career mentorship, and not just to people that are external to your home, also really encouraging parents and families to take an active role in mentoring the young folks that are right in your own life. I'm a mother, and of course, we're trying to teach our children so many things. Andrea and I were joking just a moment ago, right? First and foremost, keeping them alive, right?
Yes.
Just making sure that they have what they need. But one thing that's really important, and I think we often forget, right, is how important our role is in mentorship with our own children. And so there's so much to be said there. There's so many things that we can do. And I think about how instrumental my own mother was, right, in my process of becoming who I am. My mom did not go to college. She's worked really hard her whole life. But she is always encouraging me to go as far as I can possibly imagine. And so one of the pieces that's so important to student success is this idea of self-efficacy, right? So what's that? That's some fancy word for just confidence, right? Your belief in your ability to do a thing. And so parents and families really matter most in terms of really teeing students up to feel like they can accomplish whatever they put their minds to. So I'm excited to jump in and just talk through some ideas with you today, Andrea. I know you've got a middle school boy who's, I'm sure, growing up so fast, and I'm sure you're looking for creative ways to help him think about what his next steps are.
You know, we could just have a private session here because I have a 12-year-old. He's going to be 13 in December. And as somebody who, you know, I'm of the generation where we ask kids, and we talked about this on the podcast, we ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up?
That's right.
And, you know, it's real easy to want to do that and to think that that's the way to actually kind of foster that conversation with them. But I find that as an older mother of an adoptive son, I don't know what the natural tendencies are, right? I'm watching him bloom every day. So
Right.
I don't really know what his natural inclinations are, or genetically what he may be predisposed to be able to do. So I find myself like, he got really into, like, he's good at math. So he got really into like drums. So I got him a drum set, and he, it's like, I find that I just want to do something to push him in whatever direction he wants to go. But I am so eager to hear, he's not landing anywhere. The only thing he's landed on is being a gamer. And it may be that I have to be okay with that. But I am eager to hear some tips and some ideas on how to do that better. So
that's right. Yeah. And I think that you started off just perfect, right? When you think about supporting your student in terms of what they want to do longer term, it's really just paying attention, right? He's really good at math. He likes to drum. Let me go and get him a drum set, right? Let me maybe connect him with someone that can help him with his, improve his skills. Is there a band program in school, right? Encouraging him to try that out. I think that you are certainly on the right track in terms of just paying attention to him. One of the things, I know we talked a little bit before about him being interested in gaming, right?
Yeah.
How deep into that conversation have you gotten with him, right? So you've observed him liking video games. Mm-hmm. What is it about the video games that he actually likes? Is it the competition piece? Is it the graphics that he, gets to observe and enjoy while he's playing? Is it, what is it about the games that he really enjoys? When you think about computer engineering, computer science, game design, right? There's so many different components. When you look at a video game, right? There's graphics, there's, of course, all the coding that goes into making it all work. There is artistry, right? That makes it visually appealing, right? The aesthetics of it, right? There is some kind of mission behind it. All of those components, people were a part of creating. So I think when you think about video game design, for an example, asking him, what is it about playing games that he enjoys? And he's 12, right? So you're not going to get the full story right up front, but I think over time, just continuing to pay attention to the kinds of games that he chooses to play, doing your own research on those games, figuring out who the game designers were for the games that he enjoys to play, like start to do a little bit of homework on who those people are. What did they go to school for? Unpacking the components of whatever that game is, and then helping him learn to be investigative in that way, right? Yeah. And then seeing from from that work that you all do together that will happen over time, right? This is not like a one night conversation. Which piece does he really connect with? And that may give you some indication as to what it is about it that he enjoys. Maybe it's actually physically just holding the video game, right? So can you think of another profession where people hold instruments in that way and get paid a lot of money for it?
Oh, is this a quiz?
Yes.
Oh no. Hold instruments in that way and get paid a
Yes.
lot of money. Well, I also have a nephew who flies drones for a living. And let's see, driving.
Flies drones, surgeons, right?
True. Oh, Lord. Just the idea of my son cutting on somebody that's
He will grow up someday. So I would, again, unpack what it is about the thing that he really likes doing. Start to unpack that a bit. The other thing I'm going to encourage you to do is, and you're, former student affairs worker here, right?
Oh, no. Grants and administration.
Well, still on the campus in some way, but yes, I would say look at the universities that are nearby, like maybe even in the next state over that you could drive him to. Every campus typically has some kind of high school outreach program, even if it's just for the summer. Some have programs that run all year long. So do a little bit of digging and see what programs are out there that focus on game design or computer engineering, or again, after you've unpacked the specifics of what he enjoys about the game, then look for opportunities to get him connected. Middle school is prime time age. Folks that work in higher education that really think about helping students transition from one phase to the next know that middle school is a really great middle place to start, right? There are things you can do with students in elementary school as well. We'll talk about that here in a second.
Okay.
But there are often opportunities for middle school students, week-long camps, sometimes 2-week, long camps. Really get his hands busy with some of the things that he thinks he wants to do. What's nice about university programs is that the students that he's around, they were him at 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, right, these are college students that grew up, loving video games. And so it will give him a real chance to connect with other figures that, represent the work that he's interested in. And they can talk to him about what their college experience looks like and what their plans are once they graduate from college. So I'll pause there and let you ask any questions you might have.
Well, this makes me feel a little better because we are the parents who were never going to have a gaming console in the house, right? It's like, what's wrong with a good book? But you have to meet kids where they are.
Absolutely.
And we have to make sure that we are learning what's important to him and, showing him that we value him by valuing the things that he values. I mean, that's part of how we just relate to other people. That's just basic stuff. It's really important, I think, to do that in a parenting relationship. But we have in the past done summer camps. There are a couple of VTech digital or whatever. There were some summer camps that were supposed to be on grounds. Like we're here by the University of Virginia. So there are always great programs. And they were going to be on grounds, but then they ended up being virtual because of the pandemic. But it also meant that we could enroll him they were a little cheaper because of that. So we were able to take the credit from that and enroll him in a second one. And what's funny is we find that a little bit like becoming an entrepreneur, I'm discovering by throwing spaghetti on the wall. Nope, not that.
That's right.
He didn't really love he thought he would love the coding. He doesn't love the coding. Mm-hmm. He thought he would like creating the avatars and that kind of stuff in Roblox. And he doesn't love that. So I'm not entirely, but what he does love is he will watch a YouTuber interact with a game on YouTube all day long. it's almost a performance thing.
That's right.
And so the other night we had family movie night and he's like yelling at the screen. I said, look, this is not YouTube. I need to watch this movie without you hollering at it. He goes, oh, okay. so so I think that it may be like, it's almost even community related and it's almost performance related. And but it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm sorry, this is my own personal stuff coming out, but for me, I feel like it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. And I see other people and their kids who figure out real early what they want to do. And I look at him and I think, can you please figure out what you want to do? I'd like to go ahead and make some plans. And it's just not the way it's going to work, is it?
No. I mean, all children, of course, arrive at different places in life at different points in time. But, I think that it's okay to give yourself permission to not know right now.
Yeah.
Right? He's 12. He's not 22. And so between now and when he graduates high school, you have to just keep trying things, right? Giving him an opportunity to get involved with things that he thinks, right? Like you said, you tried a couple of things this past summer and he's like, no, I didn't exactly love that. When you have an opportunity, introduce him to a couple of different people. Again, once you have that initial conversation where you really unpack, and this will happen over a series of days, weeks even, what is it about the video games with him watching? You were saying, he really enjoys watching the YouTubers, right?
Oh yeah.
What is it about that he enjoys? Like, try to get him to articulate what it is he likes about it. And then go from there.
And he's learning how better to articulate things, right? It's really interesting. He's a 7th grader, but 6th grade was all virtual. So this is he's like a first year middle schooler who's in class.
That's right.
Yet he's a 2nd year middle schooler. But just being in the classroom where he's interacting more with adults and children and his age, he's becoming a little bit more articulate with that. So what happens though when they just don't have any clue? Like, what if he wasn't like really interested in games? I mean, and he just like flit around, did this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing.
That's right. So campuses, I'll start with campuses, right? Because there are many options in terms of thinking about career choices. Students don't have to start school and know what they want to do. They can really be attracted to the idea of going to college, to being a part of the campus community, getting involved in some kind of sport or activity that they were involved in when they were in high school. There's all kinds of things to do on a campus, right? And so helping students connect with the student life piece of it when they're not sure exactly what their major will be. There are prescribed classes that students have to take regardless. And sometimes trying those things on for size will start to give them some kind of indication. Gosh, I really, did not like that math class, but, I went to the math center and the folks were great. They helped me get through it, but I really enjoyed my English classes this year, right? Or I took the psychology class and that was really fascinating. So I tell students that are interested in going to college and they can't decide what they want to do to go anyway. There are so many people on campus. I used to wonder, like, who are all these other people on campus that aren't teaching, right? And then I became one of them and I thought, these people are fantastic.
Yeah.
Many of them have gone to school to study higher education to understand how to help your child once they are in their care, right? And you've got your academic advisors who really understand all the degree programs and they can help a student. There's some developmental advising that goes on where they're asking students some questions that you may have already asked them along the way, but the advisors are typically major specific. So they understand the majors, they understand, the kinds of jobs people typically get with a major like psychology, for an example. So there are lots of people on campus to help. I tell students all the time, you want to go to college, you don't know what you want to major in, go anyway. Go anyway, right? But go and get engaged. Don't go and just kind of hang out on the campus, right?
Yeah.
Go and get engaged. It doesn't matter if it's a club or an organization or athletics, intramural sports, right? If you don't want to play football, baseball, right, as a primary thing that you're focused on, there are other ways to get involved on the campus. But go and pay attention to the things that matter. So that's the college piece. Some students like me, I didn't go to school right away. I think I shared before.
You did. Yeah, you shared that on the podcast.
That's right. So it's okay to take some gap space with intentionality, right? So for me, I needed to pay off my car, right? So I didn't go to school full time for 5 years because I had a vehicle that I needed to pay off. And as soon as that thing was paid off, I was out of there, right? But for some people, it will be they need a year to save money. They want to take a gap year or two and work in this field and really make sure this is something that they want to do, right? So it is important to have a plan. And as adults, it's important for us to help teens think through that plan, right?
Well, and I like that you speak to, because your organization's called Cultured for College.
That's
and
right.
I think that if we've got people who hear that and they think, oh, well, that means we have to go to college, or she's only advocating for people going to college. It's not that you're only advocating for people going to college. It's that you are trying to create the culture that facilitates young people figuring out what they want to do. And
That's
if
right.
that includes a college degree, how to get there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's exactly right. And I'm of the mind that you should prep for college even if you don't go. So what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
Right? Thinking about how intentional schools are with putting opportunities to really think about polishing your writing, thinking about opportunities to think about who you want to become professionally, right? Dressing the part, things of that nature. Because the reality of it is we will all interact with some of everybody. So I had a former student who loved cars, right? Loved cars the way your son loves gaming. This boy loved cars.
Oh, and he loves cars too. Don't get me wrong. He's got cars on his wall I've never heard of.
That's right. Loved cars. After we had several conversations, eventually got to the point where he decided, you know what, I think becoming a mechanic is the way I want to go, right? He wanted to make money right away. So that was number one. He's like, trying to count the cost. And he's like, if I go to school, that sounds like many years of me not being able to work, which wasn't what he wanted to do. It wasn't the best choice for his family. So becoming a mechanic was one of the things that he had in mind. And so I worked with his family to say, hey, that local oil change shop that's around the corner, right? Is there someone in your neighborhood that's got a garage where you can go and introduce this person to and help them not only think about the work that they do, but also the business aspect of it.
Smart.
And so just getting that student connected with people that were in his field, and then giving that person a chance to just shine, right? This is my shop. This is what we do here. Behind the scenes, in addition to taking care of all the cars, here are all the bills I have to take care of to make sure that it all works. So trying to give them a full picture of what it means, right? You want to be a mechanic, and then it's unpacking. Do you want to own your own business, or do you want to just go and work for someone else? Both are important, right? We need employers and we need employees. And so as a parent, encouraging that family, it's okay that your student wants to, and I say student, right? Not your child. When we're talking about helping your student make choices, they are your student. They're not just, oh, this is my kid. It really reframes the way you think about the conversation, right?
I think when I was advertising this Facebook Live, I think at one point I put kids, and then in another one I put students, and
yes.
And I'm like, that just feels different, right? It's like my husband's a pastor, so it's like, are you the pastor or the dad?
That's right.
And it's a role that we play.
That's
and
right.
You talk about the parents actually being mentors as well, and that helps reframe it for us to be actual mentors, or to think of us as being mentors.
That's right. That's right. So anyhow, there are so many ways to help students chart out that path to success. and it's really listening to them. I think about that family. That family certainly had the finances to support their student going to college, but think about all the money that they would have wasted.
Yeah.
All the energy that they would have wasted, right? I've met students working on campus. They really wanted to be off somewhere, being a freelance photographer, which, by the way, they make really good money, right? This student did not enjoy being on that campus, really wanted to be doing something else, got into some photography classes and started to enjoy that a little bit more, but parents were paying for college, wanted, them to study. You have to go, you have to study one of these 3 majors, right?
Really?
Oh, sometimes, again, it comes from a good place. It comes from us as parents wanting to really tee our kids up for success, right? It's like, I want you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, but there are so many ways to get there.
Can we just talk about the fact that the parents don't always know everything?
No, we don't.
We just don't. And the arrogance of it. Now, I can say that because I'm a parent and I'm older.
Right.
But you see me get real uncomfortable in my seat, right? It's just, it would not even occur to me to tell my son, you have to go to college, number 1. Number 2, you have to major in one of these 3 things, because I switched majors 3 times, right? And then I didn't really use my actual major. So there's so much disconfirming evidence in our own past that tells us that doing that is not the way to go. So how do you work with parents to help shift their mindset to nurture the student that is maybe under their roof or in their home or next door? What do you do with parents to help nurture a mindset of being a little more open to what the possibilities are? Because I'm sorry, I'm an entrepreneur and I help women entrepreneurs. And I know that, my husband and I are having this conversation. You don't have to have a college degree to make good money to be successful.
That's right.
You just don't anymore.
No, you don't.
And it's always good to learn things and to be a lifelong learner. But Tony Robinson they're putting together like all these autodidact kind of programs for people to never even go to college, because somehow it's getting there are ways in which college is becoming almost a little yesterday. How do you respond to that too? Sorry, that's 2 things.
No, that's okay. So I'll address the first one. I like to tell students and parents, you need to have a post-secondary goal, right? So that's academic.
I like that post-secondary goal.
Post-high school goal.
Yeah.
And for the parents that want to be involved, want to nurture and foster this idea of what comes next, help your student chart out their pathway, right?
Right.
Help them understand what the possibilities are. There are so many jobs. There's so many, so many.
Yes.
Right? Helping investigate the things that interest them with them. And when you do that, right, as an adult, you are going to be able to connect real world to present day.
Yeah.
You'll be able to understand more about, if you decide you want to be an artist, how do you chart a path to actually make that work? I majored in dance education. I loved the work that I did with those students, right? There were some people that were worried about that. I'm sorry, you're going to school for what? Dance, right? And I love it. And I'm having a great time and I'm developing confidence, right? And I am learning to network with people on campus. And actually, I'm getting a lot of opportunities. My dance department, graduated from Wayne State University, took me all over the country.
Yeah.
Going to different dance, right? So it just opened up the world of possibilities. It wasn't just about the major and how much money I was going to be able to make afterwards, because you are a product of all of your experiences.
Right.
Not just the degree that you earn.
Yes.
And so,
and what I tell students is, sorry, I'm just jumping in, is that
no, it's okay.
The college degree, and I ran into this when I was a hiring manager, there were certain jobs that were required to have a college degree. And I'm like, this is stupid. I don't know how to tell HR. It's like, I tell HR, this is stupid. It's like, that's fine. We
Yeah.
can't change our policy. I'm like, why can't I change the policy? But the college degree tells your employer that you know how to learn
You know how to learn and you know how to finish something that
what
you
you
started.
started. Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You can commit, you can navigate change, you can be resilient. Everyone that has a college degree understands that everything about it wasn't easy. There were
Yeah.
some parts that were easy and fun, and other parts were not, right?
Yes.
And so you understand that experience, that degree, like all this hassle for a tassel, right?
Right.
It does give you a certain amount of it gives you a badge, right? So I think you've articulated those. But in addition to that, again, it's the experience. It's that holistic experience that you walk away with that extends so much further than just the piece of paper.
Yeah. And I like your example too of being a dance major,
Yes.
because, my story is that I was pre-nursing and then realized, no. And it was like, I can't do anybody else in pain. It just hurts me. So then I switched to music business. So it actually ended up being a BBA, business administration with a concentration in music industry. And it was, wait, you went from this really practical thing to this what?
Right.
And I'm like, okay,
Right.
it's still a BBA, right? It's still,
Right.
I still got my accounting and I still got my economics and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Statistics, which started out appearing as one of those experiences that we kind of went, but I have used my business degree to a certain extent, but I didn't stay in the music industry, but I still have all these amazing connections from being in Nashville and being in Los Angeles. And,
Right.
it's like, I know people and I
Right.
don't always tell people that I know people, but I know people who know people. And it's really
That's
kind of
right.
fun, watching names scroll through on the screen and go, "Oh, I know that person and I know that person."
Exactly.
And, but that goes back to what you were talking about, the community, the
Mhm.
culture of being on grounds or on campus. Sorry, I've been at University of Virginia a while, on campus. So those are the kinds of things I think that are important to look at rather than making sure that you get this specific type of degree, right?
That's
Because
right.
there are very few things. And I also have one of my sister's friends, kids, they did specific mechanic stuff instead of going to college as well. And they specified and they specialized in like higher end cars, and so then they were able to do that kind of thing. So is there anything that we have, what have we left out here? What
Yes.
have we not covered?
That's right. So I wanted to come back just quickly and address, you were asking like, what about the fact that for many jobs now, you don't even need a college degree, right?
Yes.
That's right. I think that's okay. I think as adults, that could be you mentoring a child that comes into your establishment regularly and you start to develop a relationship and you all are talking, about whatever their future plans are, or your own child that in your mind, right, you're like, okay, in some of these moments, this is also my student, right? Many parents learned how to be teachers because of the pandemic. So we know
That's
how
my
to
husband. He's a much better teacher.
He's the pastor though, right? So that works out.
Much gentler. I'm the businesswoman.
But I think that helping your students understand the possibilities, I think really is the bottom line here.
Yeah.
There are many things. We do need to have a post-secondary goal, and together we will work to get there. You meet your student where they are and then raise the bar, right? Oh, you love video games? Great. Let's talk about all the stuff you can do as a gamer and becoming a part of that community. Mm-hmm. And by the way, here are the income brackets for each of these things that you're thinking about and what those income brackets mean, right? If you're making $40,000 a year, just as an example, how far does that get you? We live in Virginia. The typical house costs this much, right? The typical apartment or condo costs this much. And so how much of your income will be used to cover the cost of this? Okay, what kind of car do you want to drive? You really want to drive this kind of vehicle?
Yeah. A Lamborghini, you're going to need a lot more than $40,000 a
That's
year,
exactly right.
or a Ferrari.
I talk about this idea of having conversations with students. Let it not just be about their interest.
Mm.
Let it not only be about their talent, although both of those conversations need to happen, but also a healthy dose of reality.
Well, the implications of those interests.
That's right.
And maybe some things are really good for career choices, and some things are really good for avocation or hobby choices.
That's right.
And some hobbies are, you have to do really well in your career to afford this hobby.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. I think about my sister all the time. My sister's 25, and she's really talented. She loves to make music. She did a certificate program at a broadcasting school in Michigan, and making a bunch of money is not important to her. Although one day I think she will make a lot of money, that's not what's important to her, right? And so giving her some space to just be, right? To create her music, to learn along the way, and supporting her in those choices. Not, I'm the sister with the PhD, so like, you need to go and you fill in the blank. That's not her path, right?
Yeah.
So it's all of that. It's meeting people where they are and raising the bar, but you have to do so with love.
Yeah.
You have to do so with compassion. You have to do so without judgment. Because building those relationships, and I talked about that in the podcast as well.
Yeah.
It's not just external. You are raising adults, not children. They will grow up and be adults and not have to listen and not have to come home for Christmas, right? And not have to, I know, but it's the reality of it. And so when you nurture and foster those relationships about this really important life transition along the way, they actually want to spend time with you. They recognize you as someone that psychologically they can be safe around.
Yeah.
And so,
so really quick, I want to just kind of draw an analogy for anybody listening who, like me, really works more. You work more with students. I work more with adults. Yes. But even just watching somebody develop as an entrepreneur, looking at my own journey, I can see where I had to do a lot of stuff for 2 or 3 years without getting paid for it, without having any kind of notoriety, or without having anybody watching on a Facebook Live. The podcast gets 5 listens. I had to do all of that to develop the skills to figure out what my real voice is, to figure out how I want to talk with people, the things that I think are important. And, here I am like 3 years later, I'm not a big star, but at least I feel like I know my voice now. It's right. And giving myself that space, some of that was while I was side hustling it with a job, but some of it is now it's like full time. And so now I feel like I can live in that space. Whereas we don't want to let our students do that, right? Absolutely. We don't want to give them that same space. We want to take it because we've already put in the elbow grease, or I've put in this many years in a career, so now it's my turn. But the reality is, I'm all about saying, let's give them the opportunity to do it now and not have to go through that later, not have to switch later. I joked, I went to 3 schools. And part of that was because I switched majors, and because I didn't really want to be a nursing major.
That's right.
And, we, in the podcast, we talked about you and your grandmother setting up that little schoolhouse, the schoolroom in her basement, where you could actually kind of immerse yourself. Now, you didn't become that kind of teacher, but it still nurtured those things in you. And so I'm really excited about this whole venture that you're going on, seeking out, what is it, 1 million mentors?
1 million. And people are like, so what does that mean? How do I sign up? The best way to sign up is to find a teenager and talk to them. That is the sign up.
And don't ask the teenager if you can sign up. They're not going to know what you're talking about.
No. The commitment is personal, right? It's a little bit on the honor system. I was a Girl Scout, right?
Okay.
So it's on the honor system, right? So finding space. It could be in your own lives. Some of us get so busy with work that carving out time to have an actual conversation with your kid is a real chore, honestly. So making time to put some of our own pleasures aside
Yeah.
and spend that time with your own teenager, spending that time with a teenager that you might know. It could be at church, it could be at, right within your neighborhood, but just taking a few minutes to actually ask a kid more about the kind of difference they want to make in the world. What are some things that they really enjoy?
Yeah.
Have they thought about what they're going to do after high school? What kind of adult job do they visualize themselves doing later on in life? Not so much what they want to be when they grow up, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that they want to be kind and be a good citizen,
Yes.
right? And those kinds of character traits.
Yes.
But the kind of job, the kind of environment that they'd enjoy going into, that's a different conversation that requires more than just a one-touch opportunity, right? Over time, learning about them, because they won't know right away. Some will, but some won't.
Yeah, I think it's more likely, just as there's so much out there and we
Mhm.
talk about all the possibilities, I think it's more likely than not that they're not going to know right away.
That's
I
right.
think that we're going to have a whole lot more who don't rightly know, and who may switch midstream, just like I did, just because the opportunities are so vast and so
That's right.
great.
That's right.
And I have a, oh, he'll be 13 in a month, which is just it's too fast. I will have a teenager in a month, and there are kids at church, and I can have those kinds of conversations, and just being willing, you said it, you just kind of said the hard words there. It's like taking time and setting aside our desires.
That's right.
To invest, because they're worth it. We were worth it. If we had anybody invest in us, somebody took that time.
That's right.
And if they didn't, then that's even more of a reason for us to take the time to do it.
That's right. We have to, I think, as a big C community, get back to this idea that it takes an entire village to raise a child.
Yeah. Whether you like that concept or not.
Whether you like that concept or not, we intentionally become a part of certain communities. It could be a neighborhood we moved into. It could be a church that we belong to. But there are some choices that we've made about who we interact with on a regular basis.
Yes. And
you have these lovely little garage doors that come up, you pull in. For some of us, right? I didn't always have a garage. I do now.
We still don't have a garage.
But you have in some communities, right? You pull in, the garage closes, you and your whole family go in the house, right? Like, not a lot of interactions.
Yeah.
You could have a child in your house that, gosh, wants to become a lawyer. Your neighbor 3 doors down is already an attorney. Never link the two up, right? So just finding those opportunities to create some space, having a night at church, right? That really gives adults an opportunity. Parents will be so thankful for that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine someone being right in your congregation that does the exact job that your son might want to do, and you just pass each other like ships in the night?
Yeah, that would be sad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to intentionally, right? Like, not exactly waiting on these things to just happen organically, but creating a space where it makes sense to have some intentional conversations. And to that end, I will put in a plug for my book coming out later.
Yes, please. Tell us about your book. Tell us where we can find you, all that wonderful stuff.
That's exactly right. So Milani Rose and Company is all about having intentional conversations with kids about careers. And I got this idea, I think, I was thinking about all the conversations I have with my own daughter, who I think will become some kind of public or civil servant at some point in her life. And we are constantly talking about what she wants to do when she grows up. And so I wrote this book really as a way to help students and families just start to explore careers, right? For most of us, if you are like me and didn't grow up with, people that did all the jobs in your family, right? I didn't have like access to a doctor, lawyer, engineer. I have access to these people now. It wasn't the case when I was a child.
Me neither.
Business.
I had access to a lot of preachers. And
I had access to a lot of those also. Business owner, professional artists. I mean, the list goes on, right? Like people that work in radio and TV broadcasting, right? I did have some of these people in my family, but it didn't dawn on me at the time to say, hey, let me reach out to them and learn a little bit more about their jobs. So in this book, the little girl and her friends go on these little career adventures. And they like transport into this space where they're learning about the career. And the little girl who's really in charge, starts to tell everybody, hey, you're going to be this person for the day, and you're going to be this person for the day. And then they come out and they leave little notes for her in her sketchbook.
Oh, cool.
And then so she journals about it. It'll be a long book series. And the point is to try to introduce careers in this really fun way. Of course, there are tons of resources online if you just want to go and learn about a career. But my hope is that with Milani, the book is written like at a 3rd, 4th grade reading level. I've had the book Lexile measured, so I know that it's spot on.
Good for you.
Yeah. And
I know what that means now. We finished elementary school.
That's right. So so it should be a really fun read. Children that read again at about a 3rd, 4th, even 5th grade level will enjoy the book. Cool. And it gives, there's, some bolded words that are throughout the books that would give parents, if they just want to glance through and say, okay, what careers are we talking about this month, right? They can use that as a guide. So more to come about Milani Rose and Company. I will do another live session a little bit later on in the month to talk specifically about her.
Cool. We'll have to check that out. Maybe we'll link that over here as well. So before we close out, we've got several people in. There have been some really nice compliments in the chat, and there haven't really been any questions, but I think people are really enjoying it. And so what I'd like to do is go ahead and have you share where we can find you, and then we'll share those in the comments.
That sounds good. That sounds good. So I'm obviously on Facebook. You can find me at Dr. Terainer Brown. Same hashtag on LinkedIn. And then, or same handle on LinkedIn. And then I know hashtag handle, and then YouTube as well. So I will, like this video, for an example, I'll post on YouTube. Great. I will post the full podcast on YouTube so they can see us having the conversation as well. And then I just recorded a couple of videos also, but as I move throughout the brand, I will continue to post items that I think will be helpful to students, to families, to community members that want to just get involved and engaged in the lives of youth. Maybe your own children are adults and you think, gosh, I actually do have a little bit of time. Let me go and check in with my church and see if, if they'd like me to do a youth night where I can help organize a career event of some sort, right? The schools are fantastic places. They cannot do it all.
Yeah.
And so finding ways to, get involved where you can.
Exciting. All right. Well, thank you. This has been, I kept you much longer than I said, but it's one of those deals where time flies when you're having fun.
That's right.
So,
I forgot to mention the websites.
Good. So sorry.
No, that's okay. We can go ahead and plop those in the comments as well, but www.culturedforcollege.com. Is the organization's website. And then my personal page, if you like to learn a little bit more about me, or you, for an example, would like to book me to come out and speak, I can do that too. You can find me at www.terainerbrown.com.
Brown.com. I'm putting them in there now.
Thank you.
So those two pieces are in there. And so this has been delightful. I love talking to you. I know that this is just the beginning, and for you and for anything that we do together, I'm excited about everything that you're doing. Thank you so much. And so we're going to sign off now, and I look forward to seeing how everybody can interact with you, and see, we need to have a way that people can sign up.
That's right.
You
That's
have to
right.
have a
Well,
way. You
there is a way for you to join the movement, right? You can
okay?
include your contact information on the Culture for College site. We will be sending out, starting at the turn of the new year, a quarterly newsletter. So I want to be real clear. I will not email you every day, I promise you. But we will send out a quarterly newsletter that will give, updates on maybe workshops that are coming up
Cool.
or tips along the way. Like I share a lot of that stuff via social media as well. But
Okay.
there is a way for you to join our email list. You'll be the first to know about when workshops are coming up and more about the Milani Rose and Company series as well. So
And those are all on the 2 different websites.
that's correct.
Got it. So if you want good stuff in your inbox, go follow and sign up for the newsletter.
That's perfect.
All right. So for today, we're going to say goodbye. I'm Andrea Johnson, the Intentional Optimist, here with Dr. Terainer Brown. Thank you so much for joining us and have a fabulous, fabulous day. Bye for now. Okay.